Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Estate Planning Weekly. I am your host, Don Rolfe. I'm the owner and founder of Northwest Legal Planning, an estate planning and probate law firm located in the Portland, Oregon area. This week on episode 12, we are discussing taxes. It's that time of year, everybody's concerned about it. In the estate planning world and in probate, we worry about estate taxes, but briefly, I just want to kind of talk about what I have seen come up recently in the news regarding our income taxes. There seems to be a huge concern with the fact that lots of people are getting less of a refund this year than they've gotten in the past. We had some major tax changes to the income taxes just a couple of years ago, went into effect for last year's taxes, and people are seeing smaller refund checks. And it seems that from the news I've watched and read that that's a bad thing. I'm here to tell you that unless you are actually paying more in taxes, when you look at that bottom line on your 1040, if your tax liability is higher, then yeah, that could be something to be concerned about. But if it's just that you're getting less back from the federal government, you really shouldn't be worried, and you actually should be happy, because that refund that you get is actually the payback of a loan that the federal government has had, that you've had withdrawings taken out of your check. That's a loan that's interest-free that the government is finally paying back to you after you actually earn that money months prior. So don't be too concerned about that. But you know, we paid lots of taxes. We paid property taxes. We pay gas taxes. We pay, in Portland, we pay an arts tax. We pay income taxes. We pay sales tax, not in Oregon, but in most other states. There are just tons of taxes out there, and one of them that we end up having to pay after we pass away, maybe, is an estate tax. There's a estate tax at the federal level, and here in Oregon we do have a state estate tax. There are lots of states that do not, but in Oregon we do. At the federal level, I'm going to tell you that most people are never going to have to worry about it with the current tax structure for estate taxes. Right now, every individual has an estate tax exemption in the amount for 2019 of $11.4 million. That means that the first $11.4 million you leave to heirs or beneficiaries or whomever you want is untaxed for estate tax purposes at the federal level. Further, if you have a spouse, you can leave them as much as you want without incurring an estate tax, either federally or at the state level. And with the federal estate tax, that $11.4 million, if you don't use it when you pass away and your spouse inherits everything, if the procedure is done right, there's a process called portability where your $11.4 million exemption can carry over to your spouse, so when they pass away, they'll have their own exemption plus the exemption that you didn't use. So federal taxes, unless you have a very, very large estate, is probably not going to affect most people. However, in Oregon, the threshold is a lot lower. In fact, it's only $1 million before estate taxes start kicking in. And that portability that we talked about with the federal estate tax, it doesn't exist in Oregon. So that $1 million, if you don't use that exemption, that coupon for tax-free passing things on to other people when you pass away, it can't be ported over to your spouse. They can't take advantage of that when they pass away. So if you have an estate that is more than $1 million, or if you're a couple more than $2 million, there are some strategies that we can use to lower that tax burden, to put your assets in the correct configuration in order to limit the amount that you have to pay to the government. Now, can we get rid of it 100%? Yeah, we can, but you know, you're going to have to not give it to people that you probably want to give it to, your assets. You'll probably have to make more charitable contributions and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, really what it boils down to is maximizing who it is, or minimizing the amount of tax and maximizing who you want to get things to get those things. And we can do that through some basic strategies to make sure that the money moves after your death in the right order to make sure that the tax liability is as low as possible. Now, at the end of the day, the government's going to get their share. So, you know, we don't want to bend over backwards trying to avoid this tax or minimize the tax and get it all the way down to zero. There is a point of diminishing returns. But if this is a concern of yours, or you'd like to know more about the estate tax, reach out to me. You can click on the link down below and schedule a free strategy session for estate planning, and we can talk about taxes, or we can talk about any other estate planning issue that you may have or question that you may have. I'd appreciate it if you like this video. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you have a question, comment down below. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you and have a great one. Bye.